Hey guys, so right, we've got a few different things in this particular flight. So I've got on there, as you can see, an orange camera. That's a Runcam Eagle 2 Pro. Now I've got a Runcam Eagle 2 and I love it. It's great. The light sensitivity of it is one of, I think, its main features. It's got the light sensitivity of an owl, but it's got that nice image of the Eagle 2. So I figured I'll get an Eagle 2 Pro. I'm not really into, I mean, if you want to use a UART, if you've got the space, and I have on this build actually, so I may end up using it for this. That depends on this, but the 2 Pro, means that you have this UART capability where you can use smart audio type connectivity and adjust the settings in your camera, while you're on the ground, which is great, out in the field, which is great. I mean, you can just plug in a little remote and do this and work from your FPV screen again, but if you've got the UARTs available, then that's a great little feature. But what you don't maybe understand unless you look into it, is that the the Runcam 2 Pro doesn't have the light sensitivity as the Runcam Eagle 2. So the Runcam Eagle 2 Pro doesn't have the light sensitivity as the Runcam Eagle 2. It has the UART, but rather than be 0.001 for light sensitivity, it's 0.01. So I feel a little bit ripped off, to be honest with you. I feel a little bit ripped off with that, just because I would have thought it would have been a addition to the Runcam Eagle 2, not give you something that you've got anyway, but we're going to give you another way of accessing it, but we're going to take away that great light sensitivity, the one that meant you could be flying out there, and as it gets darker you're okay still because you've got this great light sensitivity in the Runcam Eagle 2, but you don't have it in the Pro. And of course now you could go to at the point of making this video, if you go to Runcam to look for an Eagle 2, you can't buy it. You can only have the Eagle 2 Pro. So so far for me, the Runcam Eagle, the picture is nice. Look, that's not the image, that's the image out of the Runcam 2. Which is quite nice. I don't know what distance we're out there. But I do like the image, and that's the image of Runcam Eagle 2 Pro. And I think that looks okay. It does look okay. It may need brightening up slightly, because the Runcam Eagle 2 out of the box is brighter than that, and I do prefer a brighter image, to be fair, to be honest. But as this flight continues, you'll see that this particular camera has some other things that I feel, screw the feelings thing, I just don't like it. I just don't like it, and we'll see as we go along in the flight anyway. So look, I don't know how far we're out there, but we were already sort of 55 meters high. We've just gone up another sort of 15 meters. Let's have a look where we are. Well, we've got about 2k out, because that's Bostock's time. Yeah, 1.98, 2k, there we go. So 2k out, 70 meters high, just climbing a little bit more. And I do like flying actually at that sort of range, 2k out, and going, sort of following the tree lines, these hedge lines. I do like that. I've done that in a couple of other flights because, I've put this one up because I get out to 10k, and I think that's a good, that's pretty good. That's pretty good distance. And even though I do go, okay, so yeah, I'm going to explain why it's going, when I get back it's going to show that I went up. I think it's 157 meters at one stage. But look, when you see the ground here, it says we're at 94 meters. To me, it looks like we're lower. And the reason why is because if you look at the ground in the big image, even in the FPV feed, you can see it goes up and down a bit. It goes up and down a bit, but that means, like here, so it says we're at 94 meters. That building looks so close below. But even so, let's say it was 94 meters, and then we've still got to go the height of the building as well, because it's 90. You're allowed to go 122, 123 meters, 400 feet above any structure, building, anything like that. Like, let's say you were going above the pylons there, the power cables that you can see on the left-hand side. You could then be 400 feet above those, 400 feet above the trees. So as you go across those trees over there, let's just say, for instance, they're 100 feet high. Now you can be at 500 feet because you go 400 feet above those. Okay. And the ground, when you put your battery in, like, for me, I'm using INAV. I'm using the Matek F405 wing boards. I think they're great. Personally, if you're going to build a airplane, I'd suggest, if you're not using a different type of system, use INAV. It's not let me down. I'm quite critical of things, as well as you come to listen to my videos or get to know more of me from my other videos. I'm quite critical on things where I think being critical is appropriate, and that goes for good and bad, positive and negative. The Matek boards, I think it's absolutely great, especially as you can fit it and put all the pins in and then just plug on and plug off as you need. And it certainly serves the needs I've been using it for in my Bixler. That Bixler's, this is the Bixler that we're flying now, and this is the Matek board that's in there. You got three, whenever I flick modes, like from angle mode, which I don't think I've put on so far because that uses quite a lot of information across the entire screen. I'm going to come back to the angle mode thing. Look at what's happening with the picture here. Look how dark that's getting. Now I don't like that. My screen will compensate. It will actually get itself a little bit brighter, but the way that flickers in and out, I don't like this. My other camera doesn't do it. I don't really want, my other, the Runcam Eagle 2 that I've got doesn't do this at all. And I don't want my Eagle 2 Pro brand new to be doing it, so I'm not quite sure if I like this particularly at all. I think we're about 5 kilometers out now. I'm already 100 meters high. Yeah, we're about 5 kilometers out. So to the chap that I spoke to earlier, yesterday it would be, probably when I put this in, or earlier on, about, you don't need to be that high to fly at a nice little distance out. See, I told you. You can do quite a lot under 100 meters. There's 5k under 100 meters. I know I've gone a bit above now, but because I've got a load of trees, and so I can go above now. I can go a lot higher. But look at the ground, over there, as it sort of lowers down. All that goes higher to the right, and the ground down there goes a bit lower. And that's what, if you're 150 meters around these objects, the building structures, the trees like this, hills, you can go higher. You can go higher. So the trees on the left-hand side, are quite tall. So if you're going across the top of those, you probably find yourself about 150 meters up, and that's legitimate. That's okay to do that. It's, you imagine if you're coming across a hill, but you had to stay at the same measurement as what you took when you plugged in your battery, and it's set your barometer to 0. Yeah, and then you come across a hill, but you can't go any higher than your 400 feet. There's a hill there. You've got to climb. You've got to go 400 feet above the hill as well. So this is Hatton Locks. Not going to get to see a lot of it. didn't really fly like this, and there's another thing that's going on now. So the second failure, now maybe this, what's going on here, because this will get a lot lighter. On my screen, I am pretty convinced it doesn't do this flashing so much. It's something I'll have to take a bit more note of. But I'm sure that I would have been looking at it, noticing it, and getting quite irate with it. And this freezing certainly doesn't happen. But I've been using a 64 gig Samsung Evo chip, class 10. You know, it's supposed to be a decent chip, and that's this. But I have noticed that there is a crack in the chip. And I'll put a picture of it and show you. But now, and it would also freeze out my video. So what would happen is, of course, I'd set it to record. I'd be recording the way like it is now. And then at some stage I'd look at the front and I'd see on the actual monitor that the video record light isn't going. I'd be, why is it stopped? Why is it stopped recording? Then I'll have to press it again. And it depends on where I notice it that it's not recording. Because you got to remember, if I'm flying this far out now, I'm concentrating on, we're 7.2 kilometers out. I'm concentrating on where we are. And I am taking full advantage of those trees down there and everything else, and I am allowed to be 400 feet above them. And I'm not necessarily looking to see if it's recording. And so that's a little bit of a problem we got. And the freezing up thing, that's not being done. I think that could be because of the chip. I got another chip today. I got a SanDisk 32 gig chip, class 10, and I put it in my FPV monitor and gave it a signal and just got it to record, and it's like recording 40 minutes without a problem. Stop, start, get it to record again, another 40 minutes, not a problem. So I think that's it. That's the see now, look, we've lost the FPV. That is the M40, so that puts us about 8 kilometers, just over 8 kilometers away from where we took off. Because that's the M40. I remember because we had to come down here to pick up my mates. He's just come back from somewhere in continent of Africa. Maybe it pops in my head, I remember it. But took his dogs down to the kennels, and that's just down the road here. When I said to him, I said, look, I came past here the other day on the plane. I was like, are you joking? He said, no, from where you fly from, where you take off from, he's like, down here. I said, yeah. So it's like amazing. He remembers when he was younger, his dad had a remote control airplane, but it was nothing like what you get today. It was one of those single channel, or just a 2-channel type thing. His dad's dead, so I don't get to talk to him about any of these things. Still in love with the Bixler. I think it's a great sized airplane. I think I might have been climbing a bit, and I've just noticed I was climbing a bit, so I'm just diving down. But you can see how close I'm getting down to the ground. I think that's because this area is a little bit higher. So even though I'm still at the amount of height I'm allowed to be at, the ground levels are changing height. It's a bit lower and getting a bit higher. But still, it's a great flight. I'm absolutely loving it. It's a lot more choppy. I think it's about 11:30. This is in the morning, because I did a flight in the morning, which was really, really smooth. I'd love to put them all up, but I do, because some of them are just like really smooth. But I don't. This is an achievement for me. This is an achievement. 10k. This is the first time I've done 10k in anything, and I'm not doing anything in danger or anything. And it's great. You get to see so much really at this height as well. I know I've seen some of the high altitude flights. They do look great, but being pretty low is pretty cool as well. So to you guys out there, if you're going to build on these, this is I don't know if I hit return to home or whether it fail safe. Let's turn. It seems to. At least it starts picking up again now. You see, it needs to get back to that 100. I set mine to 120 meters. So that's the altitude I have for my return to home. Its pitch is 30 degrees, so get it straight up there. and just get to that height just to clear anything in case I was coming down somewhere. I can't see now to guide myself back so well. For some reason it seems like it gets better signal going out than it does coming in, but it does seem to pick up the signal stronger as I'm coming back in at an earlier time. So look here, see these trees? I can go, whatever the height these trees are, let's just say they're 100 feet, I can now go another 100 feet higher to clear these trees by 400 feet. And that's something you want to remember when it comes to this height restriction thing. Of course, don't go above, because you can do so much. I mean, come on, if you got like a mini quad, there's no way your battery's going to last getting out this far and back. So to think that you can't still do with a mini quad this sort of distance underneath the height restriction, so you're not endangering anybody, you're not, you know, causing any problems like that. It can be done. You know, you see that little jump there, that's the time it takes for the Runcam to save the file once it gets to a certain size and then start another file recording. So you get that little jump. Fortunately on this one, on the way back, we don't get the bit where the whole... There's a battery charge. Have you heard that? You don't get the... where we have another big missing part. On the last video we did, I can't remember which one, no, the video before last, there was a big missing part in it of the HD. For some reason, Runcam didn't record it, but that's the Runcam 2, that is, that's the HD, what we get to see now. Yeah, great little flight. It's been a great plane to learn to fly on. I bought a Sky Hunter because Banggood were doing really cheap. I think it was like £65 or something, £67 maybe with the shipping. So I bought one, and I really want to fly that now, even though it's not finished being built. I'm just about to put all the pins on the flight controller to pull it out. I was just going to throw it out with a receiver in it. And see what it was like that, because I did that with a Bixler. I first of all, I tried putting the flight controller in and everything, but the way I did it stacked with the power distribution board, flight controller, on-screen display, you know, the VTX and everything else, and I stacked up the power supply, flight controller, on-screen display. But then when it came to trying to do anything with it, making the adjustments, it was such a pain in the backside trying to get in and out. I decided just to take it all out, chuck a receiver in it, just throw it up in the air and see what happened. And I loved it. That was brilliant. That was just absolutely brilliant, just getting used to flying it around like that, line of sight. And yeah, and then because I'd already put the camera on the transmitter just to have it then, and all I had to do was just connect it up and then bang on FPV in it. Yeah, great. You see now, look, we're lower than 100 and we're lower than that. Definitely, this thing should be at 122 metres, 122 metres, but we are definitely lower than that now. But as this is coming back, using the GPS for that height, it thinks it's at that height, but it's not really, not against the ground level. It's just from the takeoff point of where I connected to that battery, and it took its sensor readings there and calibrated the sensors there. That's where it's taking its height from. If I went across the top of those trees, now look how close I'd be to those trees. There's a good possibility actually I'm flying this now, so I've just decided to go nice and low, yeah. So maybe we take that back from that low point over there. This is obviously I've got control of this now, and I'm just bringing it in lower, probably about 75 metres, and I don't know, that looks like down there, that white right in the middle of the screen. It looks like that's where we're going to. It's got to be like 4 out. If that's the farm over there, that's definitely 2 out. So we've got to be like 3k out. So I've had to readjust down on the Runcam 2 to set its the dynamic range, the wide dynamic range for it, you know, to compensate for the darker areas, so it's not, you know, left too dark. You've got 3 settings for it. It's like a wider field, a more narrower, the middle setting, to a more of a pin setting. Now on the pin setting, it's too bright. It gets too bright, the sky gets too washed out. On the middle one is what we're on, and then on the other one, the one that makes it look like it'd be all over, it is too dark. I don't really like it. I probably could put a video with all 3 differences on there, but it's a lot of faffing about throwing an aeroplane up in there to do that. I have to find another way of doing it. Just be simple little thing with the camera, wouldn't it? But even though, you know, I've had it all this time, and I think it's a good little camera for £50, it does quite well. I think I'm running mine on 30 frames a second, 1080p, 30 frames. I think it's alright. I like it. I like it. It'll be interesting to, because I'm going to put the GoPro on some sort of mount on the Sky Hunter, and it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. Well, that is not where we're going back to. That's where I thought we were going back to. That building there on the right hand side, but I've got a funny feeling we'd have to do quite a hard right. It's quite nice to have a bit of a low level mystery tour in the game. Of course, on the FPV I can see, it's just that we haven't got the video of the FPV here, so, you know, I know exactly where I am anyway. I mean, I've got that little arrow just telling me which direction to go in, which is great, you know, having an on-screen display, the GPS, just so you've got that little arrow telling you which way to go is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I tell you what, I wish I'd done this years ago. I wish I'd started this hobby years ago. Or maybe it's not, I shouldn't say that. Maybe this is a great time to come in. With the boards, with the technology that we got, with the aeroplanes out there. Maybe this is just a great time for someone like me to come into it. And I'll tell you something else about all this. Right, I think one of the best lessons I've learned since I decided I wanted to build my own quad after flying, you know, the little Cymex 5C, getting into it with that, after the Hubson of sort of liking that and sort of hating it in a way. You know, it's got its place, but then building my own, feeling how different it was to fly, how more control you had. The best lesson, you know, getting into the airplanes and everything, the best lesson I learned, and I wish I'd learned it right from day one, was to be your own support. Be your own researcher. Don't rely on anybody for anything. Go find out for yourself. You know, how to set things up, how to do the wire, make sure, you know, you star ground everything to ensure you don't get any grounding loops or any of these things that can cause you problems. You want to look it up for yourself. If you ask people questions and you wait, you don't get responses that you want, it can be quite disheartening. So just everything is out there. Believe me, I've had to look for everything myself, and I can tell you that everything is out there for building these and putting them up. You don't need to be reliant on anybody. There's you know, some great people out there. I'll tell you one of the ones that helped me learn how to do so much with the. There's the building over there. Well, we've got to be a couple of K out still. We're coming in quite low, which is nice. Was a JC, and that's Project Blue Falcon on YouTube. He's not with us anymore, which is a, you know, shame, real shame. But he's got such a great way of putting things over, and everything that I've done, that, you know, he's done a tutorial on, has worked every single time. It's, you know, guys like that are gold, absolute gold. And there are other people out there, don't get me wrong, but for, you know, just the way he came across and put things across, for me, was my penny dropping type thing. But everything else, if I need to research anything, if I had a problem, then I'd just go research it for myself. Yeah, but most stuff just works pretty much straight away anyway. To be honest with you, the quad building is harder than the plane. I know, well, maybe putting the actual plane together is more time consuming. But I mean, for sorting out the electronics, because the quad's closer, it's tighter together. But I do love this plane thing. There's a good possibility if I'd have tried aeroplanes first, I wouldn't have started flying quads. Well, I'm glad I did fly quads, because it taught me just about, you know, everything I needed to know to put an aeroplane together, even though that might sound a bit daft. The only thing it didn't teach me anything about was servos, and setting up. Well, that's just a case of just playing around with it. And of course the radio, wow, oh blimey. I got a Tyrannus and that was a learning curve. Put in OpenCX in it. It's a learning curve, yeah. But now I can just do it. It's great. I want to set up a model, I just set it up, and I will start doing some tutorials or something on it, because it is great, it is easy. There's like it's like anything else, okay? Once you start understanding the terminologies, once you've got your hands around it a few times, you know, you've been around it a few times, you've got familiar with it, then things become a lot easier. At the start, I think it can seem all a little daunting. It was for me. I'm old, I'm 50, and you know, my brain's been pickled, probably to say the least, over the years, and I can still figure it out. Look, apart from, of course, I can't figure out how to keep an FPV feed in, even though it'll come back in a second. Pretty sure it will. Yeah. This little Bixler airplane is great. Absolutely love it. Now when I've got my flaps and my flapper arms, my ailerons mixed, you know, mixed flaps setting, and I've got flaps as well. So now when I come in and I put those down, I don't know, you know, I do get a nice reduction in speed, and it is really nice putting it in. I should probably do it from a long distance. FPV's back. I can sort of bring it in about 30, 35 down here. On the throttle, that is, the throttle position. I just don't ever like the idea of it, you know, stalling it. Trying to get my height down and my speed down. It's quite hard, you know, when you start descending quickly, of course you pick up your speed again. I want to be able to fly through there and around the tree. That'd be quite good, especially with this big thing, this Bixler 3. I mean, it's not terribly. It's a lot more manageable than the Skyhunter. The Skyhunter's a big aeroplane. I didn't realise how big it was going to be, even though I did stand with the tape measure next to me, measuring the 1800mm. And it seemed quite big then, but it's just quite a big aeroplane. Now before, I never used to get, I always used to come in, you know, too close to me, or I'd always overshoot. But now I've got the ailerons and flaps mix, and I'd never seem to have enough legs to get it to me. But look, you can see max distance there, 10.8. So in just, you know, 10.08 I should say.